Okay, folks, Captain Paul here. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever. Today I'm at one of my favorite places, the home of Southern Estate. And today we're going to talk about Fleming versus Nordhavn. But before we get started, I want to special thanks out to Scott. We just closed on his boat last week. And man, what a beautiful ride. We brought it from Fort Myers, Florida over to Key West last week. I hope some of you guys watched the shorts, you saw that. Anyway, what a beautiful sunrise. Oh my God, it was just incredible, that sunrise. It's really what this boating is all about is, I never go in awe over these sunrises and sunsets. And even on this job that I have now working at Little Palm, it blows my mind. The sunsets that we see there every single night is just amazing. And I feel grateful. And it's really, really what it's all about at the end of the day. I mean, that's all I can say about it. Anyway, thank you so much, Scott. Appreciate it. This week we're into some yacht training. Last week a lot of yacht training, a lot of stuff going through his head, and he's learning. He's picking it up quickly, and he should be ready to go here in another week or so. Anyway, let's talk today, and then next week what I really want to get into, we'll get back into the boat buying, because we've got a lot of boats under contract right now. And then we have some that have gone through their surveys, and some, that we're still waiting on the survey. But I really want to get into touch and talk about the sellers that are selling their boats after the survey, what happened and stuff like that. Because some of the deals went through, some of the deals fell through after the survey. Some of the buyers are working with some of the sellers are working with the buyers. So we'll talk about that more next week. In next week's video, next Wednesday's video. Anyway, and appreciate the video for last week. A lot of support on that video, so thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it. Anyway, there's 3 really good reasons. That's what I really want to talk about in this reasons why I made the switch from that Nordhavn mind thought to going to a Fleming, and where my head's at, and why. And I want to hear you guys' comments down below, and I want to hear your comments, Nordhavn or Fleming. Also, which one would you pick if money was unlimited and you could pick any boat? Which one would you pick? Would you pick the Nordhavn, and would you pick the Fleming? And then how many years of boating experience? Because I think that's another key factor of why I made my decision. So anyway, let's talk. Let's just go back in history ways here. Let's go all the way back to my childhood, just for kicks and giggles. Anyway, I remember when I was a very young kid, Thrifty. For any of you guys dated like me, Thrifty was around. Thrifty drugstore was around, and at that Thrifty drugstore, I picked up a powerboat magazine. I didn't know what I had in my hand at the time, but I do remember picking up that magazine, and I remember reading every single article in there. And at the time, I was naive, and I really didn't know the difference between power and sail. I didn't have a concept of money and what that you have to throw fuel in the boat and all that stuff. So anyway, I was just young and dumb, and I didn't know a whole lot. But back then, it was Nordhavn all the way. And so I grew up with that mindset of Nordhavn. I think they did a really good job marketing that. There's rugged offshore boat, and we're the best. And they are. I mean, it's a pretty decent boat. But anybody that follows them closely, I mean, they've had a few of them fall apart, and they've made some huge. I don't want to say mistakes, but there has been some things and some flaws in the design. They also have the mindset of the dual engine, like the single engine, and then you can see them slowly switching over to the dual engines. So are they saying they made the mistake, or are they saying that duals are just as cheap to run as single engine? Which it's not. A single engine is cheaper to run to an aspect, but it's really it's not in the long run, I don't think. Fuel economy, you can get a little bit better fuel mileage out of the singles, but really it's mind-blowing how much you really don't gain from stuff like that. So Nordhavn, in my opinion, did a really good job marketing. I still talk to my rep he sends me emails, but it's a different experience than, let's say, the Fleming experience, let's say. So you guys know that I went down to the Fleming dealer, what was it now, 3-4 weeks ago? I was over there in Stewart, working with the Michael and Laura selling their Nordic tug. And anyway, and so I met them over there at the brokerage that we decided to sell it at. And congratulations to Michael and Laura. That deal also closed. A really clean, super clean boat. Went very, very quickly, and some lucky guy got a really nice boat out of the deal. Anyway, so while I was over there, I had the chance to stop at the Fleming dealer. And when I did, I wanted to go, hey, maybe I should go aboard a 65 and just see the things about the 65 that I like, and, just walk the boat and check it out. I had never done that. I've done that on a Nordhavn, but I've never done it on a Fleming, so this was my first time. Usually when I go by Stewart, I'm usually by there and I go by the outside on the water, so it's a little bit different experience seeing them actually sitting there at the dock over at Fleming Yachts in Stewart there. So anyway, I stop in, I talk to one, and they were happy to take me out to the boat and show me one of the 65-foot Fleming. Talked price a little bit, but I already kind of knew what I was looking at and stuff like that. Anyway, on a new build, it's $5.6 million. A used boat will probably come in somewhere around $2.5 to $3 million. But then to refurb it and get it ready for the trip that I want to do, it's a minimum probably $750,000 to refurb it. So you're not horribly far off of that new price. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the end here. I still got about another year because I want to leave when I'm 65. So I've got about about 2 years before I'd have to make the decision to put the deposit down for the 3-year wait for the build. That's ultimately what I really, really want to do. But I don't know I don't know where life's going to take me, and I don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 years. But that's what I'm going to keep my mindset and keep going. So the 3 big reasons for me that I choose Fleming is I have now probably somewhere right around that 20,000 nautical mile in a trawler mark now. And so when I'm out there and you see the Flemings and you see the Nordhavns out there, there's a huge difference on the capabilities of what they can do. So when you see that big Nordhavn out there, it's super tall, and then just that Fleming has that lower center of gravity, and the ride looks so much smoother on that Fleming than it does on that Nordhavn. Anybody that follows Monster Mermaid, that's a good one. They have a 65-foot Fleming on YouTube channel that I watch. I try and catch up with one of their videos every once in a while. And, when they do their crossings and you see them, even with the stabilizers and everything, Brooke doesn't even get on the boat anymore. It's pretty much him, the husband. And, it's everywhere. There's stuff rattling, rocking, and rolling. It's going to be true in any boat. When you're on the outside, I don't care. When it gets rough out there, it's rough. And the boats are going to rock around with stabilizers, without stabilizers. Stabilizers will help a little bit. And it depends what direction it's coming from and stuff like that. But even in a Fleming, it's the same. The ride will be a little bit smoother because you got that lower center of gravity. Okay, so what's my number one reason? My number one reason is when you got a guy that puts his name on the boat. So Fleming, I don't know if any of you guys realize this, but Tony Fleming, he actually takes a 65-foot Fleming called Venture 1, and then now he has Venture 2, and he actually takes it around the world. And they do these big, long, extreme trips, and they're testing the boats. They're testing the engines. They're testing everything on that boat to make it a better experience for their customer. And I just don't see Nordhavn doing that. Maybe they do, and I'm not as connected with Nordhavn as I am Fleming, and maybe they do, but I don't see it. I don't see like that quality of video, and I don't. Mr. Nordhavn, I don't think he exists. But maybe I'm wrong. I didn't do all my homework, and maybe my research isn't that up to date. But I know that Tony Fleming is a guy that put his name on his boat, and I know that he goes out and product tests everything, and so I like that. That's my number one reason. Number 2. Ride and stability. Again, we'll talk about this because with that lower center of gravity, now what you lose is you don't have that walk-in engine room because they have to lower everything down, and so our bridge height is much, much lower on the boat. But just if you just use your common sense, and you have something this tall rocking around in the water, what's it going to do? Or if you have something this tall, it can only do so much rocking, and it's less rocking, if that makes sense. And there's less momentum, there's less everything. The pendulum doesn't, it only can rock so much. So for me, the Fleming has less, lower height, lower center of gravity, better ride in any weather conditions. Number 3, this is a big one for me, speed. So I get a lot of questions about this, a fast trawler, let's call it, or a slow trawler. And for me, especially as I'm getting older, speed doesn't kill in the water. Speed can save you actually in the water, because in Southern Estate here, we'll just talk about Southern, she is an 8-mile-an-hour boat, and that's wide open. I mean, you might be able to get 8.5 out of her. I mean, if I really wanted to just peg the throttles, run her up to 2,200 RPMs, and just run her, it should probably 8.5 miles an hour. At cruise speed, she's really, her set-in cruise speed is about 7.5 miles an hour, and I know that's only 1 knot difference, but that's just the reality of it. And we got to plan our trips around that, our weather and everything like that. But on a Fleming, where you can get 18 knots out of a 65-footer with twin 1,000 horsepower engines, which almost get the same fuel mileage as Southern Estate here. Southern Estate will only get about 2.2 miles a gallon. That's it. That's the best she can do. And maybe, if I back the throttles all the way down to about 1,200 RPMs, she might do, 2.3 miles to the gallon. But the Flemings do right over like 1.5 miles to, 1.75 miles to gallon with those 2,000 horsepower man engines in them. But when you need the horsepower, and when you're fighting current, wind, especially like a perfect example of it was going over to the Bahamas and cutting across that Gulf Stream. Once we got to cross the Gulf Stream, the Gulf Stream was tough, and B, that jet stream, not the jet stream, the weather changed on us when we got across to the other side of the Gulf Stream. And if I had power, I would have laid into it a little bit and got over there a little bit faster, and I would have appreciated 2 to 3 more knots out of the boat. That's what's nice about like the Nordic tugs. This Ranger tug that I'm in now, doing it with Scott, he has that extra speed and stuff like that. Another thing that, so the 3 basic reasons, for, Fleming is Mr. Fleming put his name on it, Tony Fleming. Speed, because speed is everything. Low center of gravity. Another thing that I really, really like about the Fleming is their marketing. Like, I'm on Instagram, and they'll interact with you on Instagram. It's fun, you know what I'm saying? Like, they'll put a post out there of a boat, and I'll joke around and say, hey, that's my boat. Who's on my boat? Type thing. And they'll joke back and say, hey, come on down and pick up your boat. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, we're just having it cleaned and detailed for you. So it's a lot of fun and stuff like that. And I appreciate it. And, but that's not the reason that, that's no reason to buy a boat. What I really want you guys to concentrate on this week, especially you guys out there looking at boats, I think next week I'm going to really dive into, we've had like 3 boats. Harold just had a boat surveyed. And I want to talk to you, and I want the deal to go a little bit further on, because some of these sellers are cooperating and doing the repairs after the surveys, and some of them aren't. And I want to see where Harold's goes right now, because he's looking at a boat. He paid they're asking top dollar for the boat actually, and so he doesn't have a lot of room for the repairs after that. And there was one major issue on it, besides the few minor issues that he was willing to accept. But one of them was, it's pretty much the same on all of them, is that around that anchor locker, there was a little moisture, and somebody needs to go in there and clean all that out of there, and stiffen all that up. And so I'm curious to see and it's still going to be another week before we find out if the owner actually takes care of the repair, or if he's going to lay it on Harold, or if he's going to discount the boat, if Harold's going to accept the boat. So anyway, we'll get a little bit further along in that deal. Another one that's going on right now is in Gulf Shores. Steve, you guys see him on the channel here. His deal is actually going along, and it keeps going along. And again, I'll keep you informed on that and see what happens in the end on that one. But it's looking good right now. Also, we had like three boats closed last week, and we can talk about those a little bit too next week. So anyway, that's what I want to talk about next week. I hope you guys enjoy your week. Peace out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. I do appreciate it. And I'm going to get back into this Patreon thing a little deeper and a little stronger here in the near future. I've just been, working on with this job in Little Palm, getting trained over there. But, that's going along really, really well. And, my boat handling skills are getting much, much better. And they just improve every single week.